Alright, it's getting past the 5 minute mark, so I may as well begin. So, what's up, everybody? Blood Moon Bobby here. I might have said in one of my trailer reactions that I was gonna just stick to doing a thing where I would mainly have my webcam and my window, but for this one here, since we're gonna be taking a look at a list from a browser, I figured that, I'll bring back the background where it's filled with stars and the blood moon is in the top right corner, which I'll get to Star Wars The Force of Evil um, in this live stream. So for tonight, I wanted to basically take a look at the entire list. I should really put that in quotes because Disney is saying this is technically speaking not what is going to be the entire list of what's going to be on Disney Plus on day one. It's more of this is much of what we can expect. It was really tricky for me to try to word that in the title. So that's what we're gonna be looking at this Twitter thread tonight and just kind of giving like my quick thoughts on these titles. The interesting thing is, it'll is this list of Disney Plus movies and TV shows. For me, it's definitely a mix of movies and shows that I've seen. Like I've seen both Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Pinocchio, and there's even content on here that I'm gonna bet that a good chunk of you may not even heard of. There's even some that I didn't know about. Like I didn't know that the Shaggy Dog, the original movie, got a not remake, a sequel called The Shaggy DA, which yeah, and I also didn't know this. They also did a documentary on Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, who were really famous Disney animators of the Nine Old Men. So it's going to be really fun to look at tonight. And also, if I do come across something that maybe doesn't interest me in particular, but it's something that you grew up with or you're excited to see, let us know in the live chat. I mean, a perfect example is I may not be into that Disney Channel movie. I think you pronounce the character's name Xenon or something like that. But if it's something you grew up with and you're excited to see, I know I have a friend who's very excited for that. Or would be very excited to that, let us know in the live chat. So, it's really not just a matter of my opinion. It's basically we're here to have fun and to check out this list of content that Disney is saying is going to be there on the first day. And of course, if it's something that I personally really don't like, but it is something you do, that's much more power to you. I know there's a couple titles on here that I'm like, oh, really? Come on, Disney. But if you're a fan of it yourself, feel free to shout it out and let me know that you're really excited. So, yeah, so don't be shy. Let's go on and have fun and discuss this. So, starting off here. Oh, and something I also wanted to talk about. I didn't get a chance to see if this list gels up with that CNET list. I know in a couple of my videos I referred to a CNET list of movies and shows. There's a good chunk that was also on that list, but that was the list. I've said in those videos not to take them as final word. Since this is coming straight out of Disney, this is something that's obviously a lot more official. So yeah, let's go for it, and don't be shy. Let me know how you feel about these titles. And of course there's going to be some where I'll just like pass by and won't say much. I know so Family Robinson is coming up. I don't have too much to say since I've never seen that movie, but if it is something you like, let me know. So here we go. Let's begin. And so obviously starting off here, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think that was widely expected. I'm definitely really enjoyed watching that movie as a kid. It's definitely a classic in the Disney canon. It's the first at least first, Disney animated feature film to be counted on their official canon. And then right next to it is Pinocchio. I also watched Pinocchio as a kid. Somehow, I don't know what it is. Like, I could sit through a lot of these movies. Okay, sit through them. It sounds like I'm talking about like horror movies. But the weird thing is, like, when I look back on Pinocchio, well, there's a lot of like really creepy imagery. It's kind of things that I didn't really notice until I got older, and it's kind of weird to me because I mean, even though they don't show things, like blood and gore. Obviously, like Pinocchio is not that kind of movie. It's the kind of thing where like a good example is I remember there was this one scene where one of the villains, he has this like really scary look, and he just says the word boys, and his eyes and teeth just look really creepy. I'm just like, geez, how did that not scare me as a kid? You know, I'm the kind of kid where it's like, if I saw even the slightest bit of blood or any blood, you know, that would really freak me out. I mean, I don't know, maybe creepy designs didn't really get to me as a kid, or maybe it gets to me more nowadays, but I don't know. But yeah, definitely really nice to see Pinocchio. So we keep going down the list. Swiss Family Robinson, Fantasia, which I've never actually managed to see the original Fantasia. I know, again, widely considered a classic. You know, it's the Disney movie where they have all those, you know, orchestral numbers with, you know, animation tied to it. I know my friend Steven Shin, he's seen Fantasia and he really liked it. So definitely looking forward to it. The Reluctant Dragon, which I know there's kind of a debate over, does that really count as Disney's first live action movie? But it'll be interesting to see. Here we have Dumbo. I think tonight I'm gonna have, you know, a bit of a nostalgia field day looking at some of these movies. Dumbo's another example where I liked it fine as a kid. I'm just kind of surprised though. I know something about Dumbo that I'll point out is, you know, the emotional core of this movie is that, you know, Dumbo is separated from his mother in the first act of the movie. You know, his mom goes, you know, bananas and starts, you know, beating the crap out of this kid with her trunk, and, you know, she's, you know, locked up in a cage. I'm kind of surprised that didn't have me in tears as a kid. I know for some of you watching, I'm sure it was really emotional stuff to go to. I'm just kind of weird when it comes to which movies or even video games make me cry. It's arbitrary to the point where even I can't pinpoint what will. I mean, and for me, even if it doesn't make me cry, it doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't make an impact. It's just that kind of suggestive thing. So like as a kid, I remember Land Before Time. That movie got me. That movie kind of messed me up bad as a kid. You know, Littlefoot's mother's death really hit me. I don't know what it is about Dumbo, and I don't want to say, oh, it's because Littlefoot's mom is dead and Dumbo's mom, you know, is, you know, put in that, you know, sort of prison and car. I mean, it's still really sad stuff, you know, but I still like the movie we find as a kid. I'm sure if I watched it today, I would still have fun. Bambi, speaking of really emotional stuff, I mean, it's kind of stuff that, you know, that kind of goes without saying in the case of Bambi, because Bambi's mom. And yeah, I think I only watched Bambi like once. I don't have a VHS copy of Bambi. I do have VHS copies for a lot of the older Disney films. Like I do have VHS tapes of Dumbo, Snow White, and Fantasia. But I only watched it once. I think it's the kind of thing where if I watched it today, you know, it would leave much more of an impact on me, as somebody, you know, who's, you know, grown up and, you know, could understand symbolism a lot better and emotional stuff and that sort of thing. So I think, you know, be really curious to see with Bambi. So once again, if you do see something on this list that really, you know, hits you and is something you really like, you know, please let us know in the comments. And here we are, Saludos Amigos. I do actually really want to see that movie. Saludos Amigos looks really interesting. Three Caballeros, definitely. The only bit of Three Caballeros I only got to see as a kid was the musical scene with the three characters. You know, with Donald, is that the rooster, and the parrot. It was included in one of those, if you might remember as a kid, the Disney sing-along songs videotapes, and it had the title song in there. And I remember, and I thought, you know, it was pretty cool. Never managed to have gotten to see that movie, but I really hope to when I get into Disney Plus. Miracle on 34th Street. I actually watched that film a while back just for fun. It was before I started this YouTube channel. Wait, Disney's Miracle on 30. Is that the original one? But they put the Disney logo on it. Let me actually double check that one again. Let me know what your thoughts on the list so far. I mean, I know in the case of Miracle on 34th, I think it's just a thing because now that Disney has basically taken up Fox, now it's basically, you know, theirs to stream and that sort of thing. So I think that's what's going on here, because I know that A Miracle on 34th Street, on double checking, I believe is a 20th Century Fox movie. We know that Disney is going to put some of 20th Century Fox's more family-friendly films. Let me double check. Like, I'm pretty sure myself, I just, want to be super sure. So, but yeah. It's kind of crazy, though, that, they put the Disney logo. I know it's technically theirs now, but it's just like, geez, you really want to do it as soon as you possibly can, huh? And yeah, 20th Century, I just checked on iTunes. Fun and Fancy Free, I have that as a kid. Another one of those movies I have on VHS tapes. I remember liking it okay. Although I'm not gonna lie, the story. What's the bear's name? I think the bear's name, because Fun and Fancy Free is split into a couple stories. Mickey and the Beanstalk, and the other is, I think his name is Bongo, if I'm correct. The nice thing about the stream is that I could actually double check my research as I'm doing this video. Yeah, Bongo. And the weird thing is that if you remember at the beginning of the movie, Jiminy Cricket goes near like a stuffed bear of Bongo, and it makes like a little roar sound. I remember as a kid not being a fan of like really creepy noises. I was like, ah! And that kind of tripped me up. So, but yeah, I think I remember liking it okay as well. I honestly, when it comes to like the especially the movies that were made, when Walt Disney was alive. When I think of the ones that had the biggest impact on me, I think of movies like Snow White. I actually, come to think of Snow White, there's even like some scenes as a kid that were like kind of creeped me out to the point where I had to basically walk away from the TV, like when the Queen turned into the evil witch character, or like I was so creeped out. I was like, I'm getting out of here. I'll come back when her transformation is complete. Just me being a paranoid little kid, I guess. Melody Time, I don't remember seeing as a kid. By the way, when I say things like, I don't remember seeing this, it's not, a criticism of the movie. It's just that, well, I haven't seen the movie myself. It's just that I don't want to go through this list saying, oh, check that out, check that out, check that out 100,000 times. So just to clear the air on that. Once again, feel free to leave your thoughts down below of the list we're going through so far. Let's see here. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The funny thing about that is I saw Ichabod and Mr. Toad basically. I saw the two movies apart. I remember getting a videotape that just had the story of Ichabod Crane. It didn't come with the story of Mr. Toad. So I remember watching the one with Ichabod Crane as a kid. I was actually kind of spooked out by when I was a kid. Like back then, the only thing I could remember seeing, the only thing I could remember from when I was a kid was the Headless Horseman chase itself, and it was so creepy because you obviously have the Headless Horseman chasing Ichabod with that flaming bump and having that really creepy cackle, and I was so scared, like, oh my god, is he gonna like chop up Ichabod, or is he gonna like sneak up and maybe he try to like slice him up? I mean, I was just such a paranoid little kid, but I did see Ichabod Crane again. I think when I was around 13, I remember we were watching it in my U.S. history class back in middle school, and of course my teacher was pointing out the references, and I remember liking it fine and getting a good kick out of it. I actually, funny enough, one of my favorite Disney Halloween songs is actually the song that Brom Bones sings about the Headless Horseman, and as the song goes on, Ichabod, he goes from, it's good, and then he gets more scared and scared and scared, and of course, his love interest, Katrina, I think it's Katrina Von Tassel, if I'm pronouncing that right, she's just laughing it off, but Ichabod is like, really freaked out. I remember that part where he eats the boiled egg with the ton of pepper on it, and, of course, it burns him up, and, Mr. Toad, I saw after I rewatched Ichabod when I was a teen. I remember, that was pretty fun. Some of the jokes were already told to me, like when the horse character was kind of being, wise ass in the court. Like when the judge asked the horse character, "How did Mr. Toad get the motor car?" And the horse is like, "The only way is the honest way." And the judge is like, "And what is the honest way?" And the horse is like, "Haha, I thought you knew that one." And yeah, that was really great. Let's see here, we got Cinderella. I definitely remember seeing that as a kid. I think that actually might be my mom's favorite movie, because I know that she pointed out quite a bit as a kid. I remember, like Snow White, it was definitely a movie we watched quite a bit growing up. And then next to it is the live action Treasure Island from 1950. Alice in Wonderland, another one that saw quite a bit of when I was a kid. Haven't seen the story of Robin Hood and his merry men. Again, leave me your thoughts down below if you do recognize some of the titles that I may not, know from when I was a kid. So once again, I really want this to be as open a discussion as possible, you know. And oh my God, Peter Man just won't get away. Hey, I mean, I know he and the kids fly, but yeah, but I'll just leave. But I'll just leave it at that. Peter Pan, another movie that saw as a kid, definitely had fun times watching it. Living Desert, I don't know too much about that one. Funny enough, I remember excuse me, had a bit of a burp. I think I remember actually seeing a picture of the Living Desert, or in a World Book Encyclopedia, a very old volume of that book at that. And then, I was just like, whoa, I didn't know Disney made documentaries back then. So yeah, Vanishing Prairie, I've not heard of. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Davy Crockett, definitely have heard of. Haven't gotten to see myself. 20,000 Leagues, I'm very curious to see. In particular, or I think it's the kind of movie that I heard about in passing as a kid, but I was like, I don't know. It looks like a movie that like only the grown-ups would be into, and that sort of thing. It's the kind of thing where like I'm very curious to see myself and to give my own opinion. And now that I'm grown up, I'm wondering if if it's going to be more of a thing. Because my impression of it, and admittedly, I saw a while back the Disneycember, the Doug Walker review of 20,000 Leagues, and I was like, I don't know, all these, adults, chatting with each other. It doesn't have a little kid. And kid me was like, I don't know, but I'm kind of curious to see myself. Lady and the Tramp, definitely I remember seeing a lot of as a kid. It definitely remember the story, the classic song, this is the night. I don't want to sing it too loud because like I know my dad really likes to sing that song. I'm really, if I'm kind of like glossing over a lot of these movies, it's just that I'm really trying to think of something really unique to say, and something that isn't just something that you've heard like 30,000 times. Of course, I remember seeing classic characters, Lady and the Tramp. I remember the climax was really crazy with the rat and Aunt Sarah going bananas. Not that I'm laughing, because I remember, I thought it was a pretty tense finale. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on Lady and the Tramp. True Life Adventures, The African Lion, Davy Crockett, and the River Pirates, Secrets of Life. Story of Perry, not sure what that one is. Old Yeller, somehow kind of like Bambi. It was like, although I did see Bambi as a kid, but it wasn't like a movie that I necessarily grew up with per se. Funny enough, Old Yeller, oh my god, it's probably gonna be something I have to put on the list. I mean, if anything, the outcome, which I don't really want to spoil, is interesting to say the least. So I'm really curious to see Old Yeller. Let's see, True Life Adventure, Zorro. Sleeping Beauty, caught that one on TV. Is definitely, a good watch. The original Shaggy Dog, and also Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I've seen some of the special effects in Darby O'Gill, and for especially for its time, looks really impressive. Even today, it's the kind of thing with a lot of, I don't want to say old movies, because I do like watching movies from like the 20th century. It's still really fascinating to see a lot of these effects, and it kind of makes you think, oh, how could they have done it back then with no computers? Like a perfect example is, I remember in Darby O'Gill, I remember seeing, review of that again, admittedly from, Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic. I remember just thinking, how did they, do the effects of the Little People? There's even a scene where that character, King Brian himself, gets shrunk down, and it's still, really, really amazing. I mean, if anything, that's associated with Disney, aside from doing, a lot of movies based on fairy tales and fictional stories, it's that, especially, a lot of people look back on movies like Mary Poppins, Darby O'Gill, and Bedknobs and Broomsticks and say, oh, the effects are so cool. And in a sense, they're, even more impressive today, because we think about, especially nowadays when we think about like how, oh, anything could be done with CGI, even if it's kind of obvious. You look back on like these older titles and just think, wow, how did they do it back then? So very interested in seeing Darby O'Gill myself, and I will say that is one of the plus sides. I know the common criticism of a lot of the movie studios launching their own streaming services, Disney with Disney Plus, Warner with HBO Max, and I just did a video on NBC Universal's Peacock, is like, oh great, what, like, now we have to like sign up for these. I will say the one plus side is that now you can basically see a lot of these movies. I mean, this list doesn't contain like every single Disney movie, obviously, but you can see, a lot of these movies through this service. So I'm really glad that it's giving us opportunity. I will say it is better than, paying for, every single one through, renting them on iTunes and that sort of thing. So, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Jungle Cat, Pollyanna, Swiss Family Robinson again, 101 Dalmatians. Interesting thing about just the 101 Dalmatians franchise for me is that I didn't watch 101 Dalmatians as a kid. I saw the sequel, 101 Dalmatians 2 Patches London Adventure, and that one I actually got quite a kick out of as a kid. But the weird thing about this movie in particular is that I saw the live action movies, the ones with Glenn Close. I guess you could say they came out at a time where Disney was doing live action remakes of their movies before they were cool. Also, but I never got around to seeing them. By the time, I remember when they re-released 101 Dalmatians it was either on a home video. At that point, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I wanted to see it just to see it, as a Disney fan myself. But my mom was like, I don't know. It looks like, I think that's a movie meant for kindergartners. But as a Disney fan myself, I do really want to see the original 101 Dalmatians, just to basically see what I missed out on as a kid. So, Absent-Minded Professor, blah, 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 blah. Try not to get tongue-tied. The Parent Trap, Grave Friars, Bobby. Hey, it has my name on it. Babes in Toyland. I've heard of Babes in Toyland. I'm not really sure if it's going to be something I'm super interested in. Going through these movies, The Incredible Journey, Almost Angels, Prince and the Pauper, Sammy the Way Out Seal. It's kind of interesting. I have gone through this list myself before I made this video. I actually went through the whole thing last night just to get a feel for it. And you come across a lot of these movies. Like, I've honestly never heard of films like Almost Angels and Sammy the Way Out Seal. So if some of them look very new to you and you've never seen them before, let me know in the chat. Okay. Sword in the Stone, definitely remember seeing that as a kid. I'm trying to think of what to say. I remember, the song sequences being a lot of fun. And, the thing about Sword in the Stone is, I think a lot of people will tell you is that, oh, it just kind of feels like, you're going to school. But I remember, the what makes that movie so memorable are things like the song sequences. Like, I remember the very first one I saw I think it was the end of 102 Dalmatians. They had snippets from Sword and Stone and Pocahontas, and they had that song where Merlin, is packing things up, and I remember it left quite an impact on me. And when I saw that it came from Sword and Stone, when I saw the movie myself, I was like, oh, that's, definitely, that's really cool. And yeah, there were some really memorable scenes in Sword and Stone. Like, I remember the scene where Merlin and Wart, I'm not gonna say what Wart's real name is for spoilers. When they turn into like all sorts of creatures in that movie. They like turn into fish and go swimming. There's a scene where they turn into squirrels. I remember there was like this one female squirrel that I think had like a crush on Wart, and of course the wizard's duel between Madame Mim and Merlin, and like kind of like what Doug Walker says. There's definitely a lot of good slapstick in that finale. Speaking of that packing scene, I also remember another scene that was also really cool was there's a scene where Wart has to like wash all these dishes because he basically works as like a janitor in a castle, and Merlin is like, oh, all these dirty dishes, and puts on a spell, and basically the dishes, they basically start cleaning themselves. And when the people that Arthur spoiled, sorry, yeah, spoiler alert right there, Wart works for, they're like, horrified and stuff, and they start, trying to slash it with swords. I remember one of the characters gets like hit on the head with like the handle of the sword, and it makes that dum sound effect, kind of like that sound effect in Peter Pan when Captain Hook hits the rock and hits his head. So yeah, I definitely remember there was some really good slapstick in the Sword and the Stone. Mary Poppins, I kind of have a very strange off and on relationship with Mary Poppins. Like, I don't know what it is. Even from a kid, I didn't really like get into the movie that much. I mean, now that I've grown, I mean, now as an adult, I have warmed up to a lot of the songs. I even like to listen to the overture of Mary Poppins. That opening instrumental where they're just showing the London skyline, and I do like listening to a lot of the songs in the movie. I actually think my personal favorite is Let's Go Fly Kite. I actually really like listening to that song, but there's also obviously some really good songs in that movie, a lot of them coming from Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. They played Mary Poppins and her friend Bert, respectively. Songs like Jolly Holiday, Step in Time, I mean, is definitely really crazy. Again, Mary Poppins is another one of those Disney movies where you think about, when it came out, and, you think, okay, this is a time before there was computers, and you watch that movie, and just the fact that, like, knowing that knowledge and seeing the effects in that film, things like the Jolly Holiday scene, and even some of the stunt work in the Step in Time sequence, you look at them and they're like, wow, how did they pull that off back in the day? And scenes like, when Mary, Bert, and the children are climbing the chimney smoke, you look at that and say, wow, they were able to do it back then. It's kind of hard to explain without sounding cheesy, but it's definitely a sight to behold. Emil and the Detectives, those Callaways, The Sound of Music, watch that. I watched that movie so many times as a kid. I still like the movie. I mean, I only kind of sigh because it used to be kind of a New Year's Day tradition where around the time of New Year's, ABC, the television station, has this sort of tradition where they like to run this movie on New Year's, and we used to watch it. We stopped only because I think my dad was getting sick of it, but I still really liked the movie. And as I grew up and learned about the really dark things that happen toward the end of The Sound of Music, like when the Nazis come and so forth. When I listen to the song in particular, the I don't know the full name of the song, the Climb Every Mountain song, the song that plays at the end of the movie where the Captain Maria and the children are making or like hiking through the mountains, I honestly get really teary eyed. It's such, a moving song and showing, how they're able to, persevere, climbing the mountains. It's a obvious metaphor, but it's still really sweet. But I would say my favorite song from Sound of Music would probably be Edelweiss, although it's a really sweet song. I remember my freshman year of high school PE, we had to learn ballroom dancing, and they played an instrumental of Edelweiss, and that was actually one of the happier times I had because when I was a freshman in high school, it was honestly kind of a dark and lonely time for me. So yeah, Sound of Music definitely made a really big impact on me today and back then. So go for the list again. That darn cat. Holy Dachshund. The Adventurers of Bullwhip Griffin. The Jungle Book. Remember seeing that several times as a kid. Songs, definitely a lot of fun. Probably one of my favorite memories of seeing the Jungle Book was, I remember there was this one time in, I think it was the 6th grade, if I'm correct, where it was raining outside, and obviously we can't go outside for recess because raining, and my teacher decides to put on the Jungle Book. She had the VHS tape, and we didn't that wasn't my first time watching it, but it was still kind of one of my nicer memories as a kid. Had some really nice songs, Bare Necessities, I Want to Be Like You. I'll admit I'm not big into the Jonas Brothers, but I remember the Jonas Brothers did like a rockin' cover of I Want to Be Like You, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought was pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, to talk about animation style for a minute, I will admit, around the time of the 60s, kind of going back to 101 Dalmatians, Disney was getting into this idea where it's kind of hard to explain how they did inking in those days, but basically they used what they called a Xerox process, where they used a copier to do a lot of the ink work in the movies, and it was due to cost reduction. I remember seeing this. Somebody uploaded the 101 Dalmatians special features, and there was a special feature of the making of the movie, and they were talking about the Xerox process. And even though it was a very cost efficient, way to make movies, I will say that, kind of a consequence is that a lot of the artwork of the characters started to look really sketchy around that time. But I personally don't hate it myself. It's more of a personal preference thing, and of course, it did get better as time went on. But I just felt like, it was something to point out, because I will say that is kind of one of more of my quips of the Jungle Book. Sensitive teeth there. Blackbeard's Ghost. Again, feel free to give your thoughts on these movies, even the ones where I'm just kind of glossing over. It doesn't mean that I hate them or anything or don't want to see them. It's because I don't have too much to say. The Love Bug, the Herbie movie, I definitely do want to see that film. I am a little concerned over, will this make me, really laugh a whole ton. For me, when it comes to comedy, it's not that I have to laugh really hard like I'm watching Blazing Saddles or something like that. It's just a matter of, can it keep my attention? The perfect example of a comedy that doesn't make me laugh like super super hard is John Hughes' Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I still thought that was an entertaining movie. But I know The Love Bug had. I've seen some clips from the movie, and definitely looks like a lot of fun. There's a scene where let me make sure I'm getting this guy's name right. Hold on. Where David Tomlinson, he plays the villain in The Love Bug. He was also in Bed Knobs and Broomsticks and Mary Poppins. There's a scene where he gets thrown into Herbie, and they open the glove compartment, and they just do like a close up of his face where he's like, "Get me out of here!" And I thought that was a really funny stuff. So I'm very curious to see The Love Bug. Not sure about the Herbie sequels, because there's surprisingly a bajillion Herbie sequels. So let me know what you think of each of them. The Computer Ward, Tennis Shoes. Kind of curious about that just from the title, but I'd have to look into it. The Aristocats, I'm not gonna lie, Aristocats, when I was a kid, I wasn't very critical about movies. Like, I guess it was kind of just the case where, oh, nice entertainment, just don't show blood. And the Aristocats, I'm not gonna lie, as a kid, was probably one of the first Disney movies where I'm just like, meh, over it. I mean, there's a lot of cutesy scenes. I mean, I remember the really funny one is the scene where Edgar the villain gets chased by the two dogs. I remember, that was kind of funny. I find it funny in particular one of the dogs like starts chomping on his leg like it's corn on the cob. Like he does it really fast like but that was really funny as a kid, but the movie as a whole I'm kind of on. I don't know. Um, I'm kind of curious to see what my sister would think of the Aristocats today because growing up she has admittedly kind of become a cat lover. That was why in when we introduced her character, on my channel, she was wearing like a cat mask for a while. So, but I don't know. I get the feeling Aristocats. It's one of those movies where if you talk to some people who've seen it, they'll be like super nostalgic about that movie and say like, oh, it was a cute movie, but I'm not really sure how much I'd like it today myself. I mean, if I were to check it out again, it would be just to see if I think it holds up. So, but I'm not shooting down that possibility. It's just that looking back, I mean, I don't remember seeing it that much. I remember I kind of had that sense of like, it looks like a really old movie. Again, because I wasn't really into the really like sketchy, um, Disney art style of the time. But yeah, I mean, the last couple of minutes you just heard 6-year-old me complaining about the Aristocats. But yeah, although that song, Everybody Wants to Be the Cat, that was definitely really memorable. Okay, so the Barefoot Executive. Again, let me know your thoughts. As we're going through the list, I don't just want to contain this video with my own thoughts. I want to hear from you if you thought these movies were, interesting. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I have to check that one out again. I remember, and I'm very curious to see if they're gonna put the extended cut or the standard cut of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I remember seeing as a kid, and I do remember, I could actually remember the plot pretty well, or at least the and the song sequences too. Like maybe not in detail, but I do remember the visuals and at least the structure. Like I remember the Portobello Road scene, or at least the dance scene, and the scene where the characters they go underwater. It's funny though. I think there's like a scene where I don't remember what sport they were playing, but the characters get involved in like this sport game, and I just remember and David Tomlinson, his character gets like really dirtied up. Like I remember as a kid just seeing it, and I was just like, "Oh shit, he looks pretty bad." So yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of I'm honestly kind of hoping that they don't put the extended cut because I remember the impression it gave me as a kid was, "Geez, this movie is really long." So but it's a movie I'm definitely willing to give a second chance because I know Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's definitely a movie that's not without its charm. So, moving on. Justin Morgan had a horse. Snowball Express. Robin Hood. I actually only saw the opening of Robin Hood. I never got to see the movie as a kid. It was very well advertised as a kid, but my parents never got me the VHS tape for that film. So, very interested in seeing it. I've seen the intro. It looks like a pretty fun movie. Herbie Rides Again. Again, let me know your thoughts if you've seen the Herbie sequels. The Bears and I. Castaway, Cowboy, Strongest Man in the World. Escape to Witch Mountain. I remember my mom getting the DVDs. I think she wanted to watch it for herself. I guess she remembers seeing that movie, although I never have seen any of the Witch Mountain movies myself. See the Apple Dumpling Gang, Gus, Treasure of. How do you say that? Matt Gumbe, or I don't know. Shaggy DA. I honestly didn't know they made a sequel to the Shaggy Dog. I remember I was just like, whoa, this is like the stupidest title I've ever heard. I mean, if you like Shaggy DA yourself, more power to you. But I've, never gotten to see it. I'm just like, oh my god, really? Shaggy Dog's going to be a district attorney. Again, let me know your thoughts. So, I don't know. I was just like, wait, what? That existed? Freaky Friday. Never seen the original. I watched the remake once when I was airing on ABC. Thought it was okay. Um, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I believe that one got cut up into basically a bunch of Winnie the Pooh VHS tapes. I remember, especially when I was like a really little kid, like being like around 3, 4, 5 years old, seeing Winnie the Pooh cartoons. Like I remember the one, like I can remember ones like where Pooh gets stuck in that beehive, and the one where the really excuse moi, that blustery day where Piglet is essentially a kite, flying around in the sky. So I'm very curious to see. I might watch that out of like nostalgia, because I remember really liking Winnie the Pooh so much as a kid. So much so that when I was in kindergarten, I drew a picture of a tiger, and I purposely spelled it, in Tigger's name, because I was just, such a really big fan. So yeah. Um, and not that. Nah, I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, Star Wars: A New Hope. Okay, honestly, one of the things that got me excited for Disney Plus was that hey, maybe it's a chance that we could see the Star Wars movies. And yeah, lo and behold, you're gonna see Star Wars come up quite a bit on this list. And yeah, I'm really glad that we're gonna see the Star Wars movies. I'm even going as far as to think, especially since Rise of Skywalker is coming out, which I'm not sure why I didn't get around to doing a trailer reaction for that movie, but hold on, let me jump back tabs. But I do really want to see basically all the Star Wars movies, mainly since I surprisingly only have seen the original trilogy as a kid. Oh no, sorry. I didn't see the original trilogy. I seen the sequel trilogy, which I know divides a lot of Star Wars fans. But I am really interested in seeing, both the original trilogy and the prequel. I know a lot of people hate the prequels, but I want to see it just out of just being able to see the Star Wars movies and just to see what's going on, and also because I don't like I don't want to like go running around saying stuff like oh, I heard the prequels are bad, and that at Revenge of the Sith is like the one that's just good enough. Like just like no, I don't really want to do that. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm really seriously thinking that the Star Wars movies may in fact be the first things I check out with Disney Plus. Rescuers, I only saw it once as a kid. I think on like, I think we were at my aunt's place in Camarillo when I saw that, if I'm correct. I mean, I do remember seeing the scenes, but I don't remember the movie leaving that big of an impact on me. I'm sure it did for a lot of people, because I know, there's a lot of people that remember The Rescuers. It just wasn't, my cup of tea. And another Herbie movie. It's like, I don't know. I don't really want to like make fun of the Herbie movies since I haven't gotten around to seeing them. But it's just the names of some of them, just like Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, Herbie Goes Bananas. It sounds like some kind of story I would have drawn up back when I was like a 6-year-old. So I don't know. You're a fan yourself, great to hear, but it's just like, what is it? What is up with a lot of these names? Pete's Dragon, definitely a classic. I know that it got a remake that I think some people like the remake, at least compared to a lot of the other Disney live action remakes. So here, Candle Shoe, never heard of that one. Return from Witch Mountain, again, I know of because I remember my mom getting the DVD of that movie. The Cat from Outer Space, and the Muppet movie. Also, I'm interested in seeing more of the Muppets. The How is it I've never heard of the Apple Dumpling Gang? I don't know. Unidentified flying oddball. You're gonna start seeing some Marvel titles show up. Like we got Spider Woman here. The Black Hole I might see out of curiosity. I know that not everyone's a fan of that film, but I'm kind of curious to see for myself. See Sultan the Rockstar. Empire Strikes Back. One thing I will say about the Star Wars movies is I know that my sis, she's seen the original trilogy in high school in her music appreciation class. I'm not sure um, if she's seen the prequels herself. What was I going to say about Empire? The interesting thing about Star Wars movies to me is that I already know like the base. I even know the spoilers. Like I know who Luke's real dad is. I know what happens to Darth Vader and that sort of thing. But I'm still curious to see for myself. I mean, I'm just kind of weird with spoilers in that there's some things where I don't want to hear spoilers for at all, like with Star versus the Forces of Evil. I was super anti-spoiler. I, posted Instagram posts saying, no spoilers. But things like Star Wars and even the Mother and Earthbound games, because I've been watching the cutscenes from Mother 3, honestly, finding out a lot about the spoilers for me, honestly, just gets me even more intrigued and stuff. So, yeah, so there you go again. Empire Strikes Back. Herbie Goes Bananas. The Ghost of the Bugsley Hall. Amy, The Great Muppet Caper. Fox and the Hound I remember seeing as a kid, but again, I don't remember it too well. See, Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Tron, I kind of want to see out of curiosity, especially now that it's a cult classic, although I'm kind of concerned the plot may be a bit complex, so I'm very curious to see if I'm going to be able to process it. Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Return to Oz, it's so funny how like, Disney Plus is launching November 12th, and it's like Return to Oz could have been the perfect, Halloween movie. I mean, I haven't, seen the film myself, but I know that a lot of the character designs are, like, really creepy in that film. So, yeah, but it's just like, oh, it would have been so cool to see Halloween. And the Black Cauldron, which I know is kind of considered the black sheep of the Disney animated films. Although Gabby has told me that she really likes Black Cauldron. Again, I may see that one out of curiosity. Let's see, Adventures of the Gummy Bears. You're gonna start seeing some Disney afternoon shows on here. Let's see, Journey of Natty Gann, One Magic Christmas, Mr. Boogedy, Fuzz Bucket, Case Busters, Gray Mouse Detective, another one that I'd really like to see. Flight of the Navigator, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's the kind of thing where, like, if somebody wanted to, like, sit down with me and see this movie, or if they're a fan themselves and wanted to show me, I'd sit down. I'm not really sure. I do remember hearing about this movie back when I was watching, like, the nostalgic period, but it just didn't really appeal to me. If you're a fan yourself, let me know, in the live chat, but I'm not really sure. Let's see, the Christmas Star. Benji the Hunted. Is that the movie that Siskel and Ebert were talking about? I don't know. DuckTales 1987, which I'm thinking of checking out. Riemann and the Baby. New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I believe it's the TV show. I do remember seeing Winnie the Pooh on TV as a kid. I know that if you go look up the theme song for New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, you'll get a lot of comments saying, I feel so nostalgic and gets me super feelsy. And yeah, I'm one of those people too. I actually do like listening to even like the end theme of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, just for fun, because I think it's such a really sweet theme. Willow, which I'm actually kind of surprised to see on this list. I mean, I shouldn't be because Willow it's a Lucasfilm movie, but I just thought, oh well, it's from MGM, so I wasn't really sure. But I'm glad to see that it's on here, directed by Ron Howard, and the story um, is developed by George Lucas. From my understanding of Willow, think of it as it's a movie with a Lord of the Rings kind of setting, but with Star Wars themes. I remember seeing the trailer and the Siskel and Ebert review of Willow, and the archetypes they seem really similar to Star Wars. So it's just like might be an interesting one to check out. So, whoop. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I know it's a classic. I know my sister really likes that movie, and I saw myself. My parents told me I saw Roger Rabbit when I was a kid, but I don't remember. I must have been like super young, but I did see it fairly recently with my sis. I didn't really get into the story as much. It's definitely a iconic movie. I guess it just wasn't really my cup of tea. Although I know my sister really digs a lot of the jokes. I know she I think she gets a kick out of the ending scene where a certain villain tells, like, I don't want to spoil details. I'm just like, a certain character tells a certain character, when I killed your brother, I talked just like this. So yeah, funny stuff. Oliver and Company. Actually, I know it might get on like some people's sort of mixed feelings list, but I do remember liking surprisingly quite a bit as a kid. I didn't really get into the art style. I was actually kind of disappointed by the art style, but I was still a really big fan of the movie. I thought it was really memorable and fun as a kid. I saw it a bunch of times. I think it was mainly because I had when I was a kid, we had a whole bunch of audiobooks for a lot of the Disney movies. They would adapt these films into books. So we had audio tapes for like Beauty and the Beast, Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Lion King, and Oliver and Company. And Oliver was like one. I think it was actually at the time. In Actually, at the time, I hadn't seen Oliver, Hercules, or Hunchback yet, but I remember hearing the story of Oliver and thinking, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I watched the movie, and even looking back, I still think, hey, it was, kind of a fun movie. I know some might be tempted to compare it to The Land Before Time because it came out around the same time, but I feel like that's a really unfair comparison because I feel Oliver is supposed to be a more laid back movie, whereas Land Before Time, it's meant to be something that's more gut wrenching and emotional. But I still really like both movies, although Land Before Time really pulls my heartstrings. There was a time where me and my sis, we didn't want to watch the first Land Before Time again because Littlefoot's mother's death just hit us so hard. It even kind of makes me think of oh, what would happen if I lost my own mom, and that kind of thing. I think I even had a nightmare about that. So, but yeah. But anyways, but as for Oliver, just put aside, the skeptic. I didn't really take it as it's not meant to be like a super super grand Disney movie, like something like Cinderella, or The Little Mermaid. It's meant to be something much more kind of laid back and fun. So, yeah. So and also another thing that I really liked about Oliver was it was basically the movie that introduced me to Billy Joel, because in the movie Billy Joel plays the dog character, the Dodger, and yeah, that song, Why Should I Worry, we still listen to it to this day, and I've since become a really big Billy Joel fan to the point where his songs take up like 50% of what's on my car's stereo. So yeah. Chippendale Rescue Rangers, I'm sure it's going to make a lot of people nostalgic. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I don't remember seeing as a kid. I think Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves turned up on TV, get it more on the screen. But I'd like to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Looks like a really impressive movie, at least from an effects standpoint. Turner and Hooch with Tom Hanks, Cheetah, Little Mermaid. that I remember seeing a lot of as a kid with some really, amazing songs, Under the Sea, Part of Your World, Poor Unfortunate Souls, which I think is a lot of people's favorite villain song, maybe next to Be Prepared from The Lion King. How did I go on this long without taking a drink? The Simpsons, definitely. God, I remember Simpsons. It was like the one adult show that like I watched as a kid. I know my mom wasn't really a big fan of me seeing The Simpsons, but my dad was cool with it. I remember I used to watch The Simpsons like almost every night as a kid because it used to air on weeknights at 7:30 p.m. on my local Fox station, and when there was a season kicking around, there would be new episodes Sundays at 8. Wow, I actually remember the time slots for The Simpsons. But yeah, it was definitely I mean, it's really hard to like say more beyond what people already say about The Simpsons. A really funny show, especially in its early seasons. For me, I don't know if it's because of nostalgia reasons, but I will say I know for a lot of people, the golden age of The Simpsons was in its first 8 to 10 seasons. For me, I can honestly get through like the first 15 to 20 years okay. Like I still remember some really cool at least to me, some episodes I remember watching as a kid, like the one where Bart binges on junk food. There was also this really funny Treehouse of Horror where Homer gets turned into the Blob, and there was a War of the Worlds parody where everybody in Springfield goes bananas over, oh no, they think aliens are coming. So yeah, definitely produced a lot of memories. I do want to see. The funny thing is, as I get older, I started to discover a lot of the more emotional Simpsons episodes, like Maggie Makes Three. I remember I saw that one, and also the episode where Bart and Lisa, are hockey rivals, and the endings of them, without being too specific, they were the kind where I'm just like, wait, the Simpsons is gonna make me cry? You're supposed to make me laugh. I'm gonna cry? So it's just like, yeah, I was just like amazed that, oh my god, the Simpsons could have some pretty emotional episodes. One I want to see again, and what's basically considered the most sad scene, or bittersweet, at least to me, scenes in The Simpsons was Mother Simpson. The funny thing is, I remember seeing episodes that had Homer's mother in it, but I didn't remember I don't remember seeing the ending of Mother Simpson, the one where Homer is sitting on his car and watching the stars. I honestly didn't discover that until fairly recently. So, and yeah, when I watched that ending, I honestly, basically every time I see it, it even makes me, again, kind of like Land Before Time, it makes me think of my own relationship with my mom, and it gets me teary-eyed. So, yeah, so what more can I say about The Simpsons? It's a very difficult show to like sum up all my feelings for, one of the longest running shows on TV. So yeah. DuckTales the movie, Tailspin. Very curious to see. A lot of these Disney afternoon shows, came out before my time. We just passed Tailspin, which came out in 1990, and I was born in '96, so I didn't get a chance to see Tailspin when it was around. Rescuers Down Under, I remember seeing once, but I don't remember the movie particularly well. Freeman and the Little Lady, White Thing, Shipwrecked. Rocketeer, which I'm kind of curious to see. I know it's kind of become a cult classic. Darkwing Duck, Beauty and the Beast. What more can I say? Really stunning movie. I will say that even as a kid, I didn't like Beauty and the Beast quite as much as a lot of other people. Like, it's still ranked for me, like, in the, top Disney movies, like, easily within top 10, top 15. But for me, the ones, especially when you look at the Disney Renaissance movies, some of my favorites included The Lion King and Hunchback of Notre Dame. So, but I still really like the movie. I really, especially, I watched again. We actually had to do a sort of report on the movie when I was in the 7th grade. We had to make like this, I guess, I don't know what you call it, like a sort of giant pamphlet of the analysis of the movie. So Yeah, I guess you could say one of the lessons I take from Beauty and the Beast is, not to judge people by their appearances. Hence why, unless I'm going to like a super formal event, I try not to worry about my appearance too much. But I guess that's, good, self-image material there. Um, Newsies, cult classic. I remember watching that movie when I was on a bus to a camp counselor job for my former high school, and I remember really getting into the movie. I will say I think the plot is a bit on the simplistic side, and that the climax is kind of rushed, but the songs are really like impressive. With all those kids dancing on the streets, and there's some really catchy songs in that movie. I mean, it's basically, if you're a Newsies fan, you know what ones I'm going to bring up. Carrying the Banner, Santa Fe, King of New York, um, um, Once and For All. Even though, yeah, the ideas behind a lot of the songs are, like, very simple. Of course, um, Carrying the Banner is, supposed to be, they're getting ready for work. Seize the Day was also a really good one. The World blah, 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 blah. Try saying the song's name 5 times fast. The world will know. I don't know what it is. Even though they're really simple, there's so much passion put into them that it's just. I honestly don't mind listening to them once in a while. Like I often enjoy listening to songs like Santa Fe, Carrying the Banner, and King of New York, and Sister Act. I think that was more of a movie that my parents got into. I sort of remember seeing it, but it was more of a movie my mom wanted to see. I'm gonna be in this stream. I'm gonna say my mom more times than Muscle Man in regular show, but yeah, because I know she likes Whoopi Goldberg movies. I do want to see Sister Act again myself. It seems like a really funny movie. I actually rewatched the trailer. It's kind of funny seeing it on the list because there's a scene I'm in where Whoopi Goldberg she's eating her food, her character's eating, and it's like this stuff is terrible. It tastes like, and they of course censor for the trailer. I'm just like, geez, they put that on Disney Plus. But I do want to see Sister Act again. See, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Goof Troop. Goof Troop is here. Little Mermaid the series. I remember having a videotape of the Little Mermaid like cartoon shorts. I don't know if it's from the TV show itself. Through X-Men the series, the 1992 Aladdin. What more can I say? Really a fun movie. I don't know what it is, but at least I remember being in high school. I'm not sure what it is, but Aladdin and The Lion King, they seem to be the two movies that left like the most nostalgic impact on like my classmates. I remember, being in high school, they liked to sing like the Lion King songs. I remember there was even like one of my high school homecoming themes was actually of Aladdin, Arabian Nights. And yeah, I mean, definitely really fun stuff, but still really entertaining movie to watch. I really like the songs, Friend Like Me, Robin Williams, How Can You Go Wrong? Through Muppet Christmas Carol, Adventures of Huck Finn, The Sandlot. I was kind of surprised to see Sandlot, but then again, Disney now basically has 20th Century Fox, so why wouldn't they put The Sandlot? Still really fun movie. I didn't see it as a kid. I actually saw The Sandlot when I was in middle school, and I thought, it was a lot of fun, a lot of memorable scenes. Like, of course, they were playing baseball, and even like some of the crazy stuff that the kids got into, like when they're riding that Ferris wheel and Tequila's playing, but they all get sick and like they end up puking on some of the people. I thought that was kind of funny, and of course, one of the conflicts in The Sandlot is they have to deal with this really scary dog that they call the Beast. Definitely a really fun movie to watch. So, Life with Mikey. Again, let me know your thoughts on the movies as we go through them. Even the ones we already passed, I'd like to hear your take on them. Hocus Pocus, I might give a chance. Let's see, Bonkers, Boy Meets World. Nightmare Before Christmas. How can you go wrong? Well, since Disney Plus is launching in November, it's going to miss out on Halloween. But hey, it'll be here in time for Christmas. Definitely a really memorable movie. I consider myself a Tim Burton fan. I really like his movies, and I feel a lot of people point this out, and we're just really like it's funny to think that Tim Burton, he didn't direct Nightmare Before Christmas. It was actually the famed stop motion animator Henry Selick, but of course it has Burton's fingerprints all over it. Really memorable movie. Hi, Gabby. Finally, I have some company here. I was getting lonely, and she's saying Hocus Pocus is the bomb. You see, let me know. I don't just want to hear like my take, or my impression on these movies. I want to hear all your thoughts as we go through them. Three Musketeers. Sister Act 2, I saw when I was in high school, freshman year. I don't really remember them too well, other than Whoopi Goldberg's character, I think, is a music teacher in that one. But I remember the one joke that really cracked me up as a kid, or at least in high school, freshman in high school, was she's about, like, Whoopi Goldberg is about to go into the classroom, and the sign, it's supposed to say music class, but the CL is taken down, and so it says music ass. So I remember seeing, and this is at a time where it's like, if I heard or saw any swearing in movies, it would just crack me up. I guess I'm still like that to this day, because I like shows like South Park and the Eric Andre show, but I thought that was a really funny joke. So yeah, once again, hi Abby. Well, blank check. Thumbelina. Yeah, I remember somebody he pointed out, how come they put Thumbelina on this list, but they didn't put Anastasia, because it's another, Don Bluth movie. And yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Thumbelina. I honestly think it makes a lot of sense for Disney to put Anastasia at some point. I mean, I don't know if they're I think this is. I don't think this is the case, but I'm wondering if it's a thing where they're like, does this mean we have to make Anastasia an official Disney princess? And my answer to that is, well, you already are holding 20th Century Fox's arm, so you got one foot in the door. So, yeah. So please, Disney, at some point put Anastasia. So, I know there's some notable omissions that you won't see. What I am hoping is that, at least for me, the stuff I do want to see does come to Disney Plus down the line. I mean, I'm not saying I want the whole Disney, library on day one, but I do want to see them at some point. So, yeah, return to Jafar, because Anastasia was quite a memorable movie. And it would also be really nice to see Bartok the Magnificent as well. Let's not forget Bartok. Return of Jafar, Lion King. Used to be my favorite movie as a kid, or at least my favorite Disney movie. Used to really like that movie. It was another one. I think for me, it didn't slide off because it wasn't like I watched it years later and thought, oh, it's not as good as remember. I think for me personally, it's just kind of one of those things where the fandom just gets so like hyped up and even more enthusiastic than I am, that it just comes off as kind of gushy, and it's just like, why? So yeah, but I personally don't hate The Lion King. Definitely had good memories with it. Funny enough, while the songs, I don't quite like them as much as the songs in like Beauty and the Beast and Hunchback, I will say I do listen to the Elton John covers of Can You Feel Love Tonight and Circle of Life. Even as a kid, I thought those two covers were really amazing. So yeah. And Gabby's saying Bartok is so cute. Do you think they should put his movie in Anastasia on Disney Plus? Gabby, let me know. And also let me know everybody else that's watching. Iron Man. Gargoyles, I know is going to be a favorite for a lot of people. The Santa Claus, which, it's weird, again, it's kind of like a 101 Dalmatians situation for me, because the Santa Claus, I've seen the second one a couple times. I think I've seen the second and third act, or at least the second half of the Santa Claus 3, the one with Jack Frost. And Gabby says yes to, Bartok coming to Disney Plus. But I've honestly never seen the first Santa Claus, the one where Tim Allen basically kills Santa and he becomes Santa himself. So I'd have to check that out. Maybe even something for me to check out in time for Christmas. Spider-Man, Heavyweights. A Goofy movie I've seen parts of as a kid. I've rewatched the After Today sequence, and yes, that song is catchy as hell. While you were sleeping. Pocahontas. Oh boy, Pocahontas, man. I mean, without getting like, overly political and stuff, I remember as a kid I didn't really get into Pocahontas. I know there's some people out there who really get into the romance with Pocahontas and John Smith, but it was just one of those movies where I was just like, it did. I mean, it looks beautiful, and the songs are cool, but I didn't really find Pocahontas that interesting. She was just that kind of character where she just kind of came off, it was the, of course, she's gonna do the right thing, but I wish she was, a more fun or even interesting character at the same time. I know there's that scene where she, kind of plays around with her friend and spits water at her, but that's all I could really remember. But yeah, well, moving on. You could make of that what you will. Operation Dumbo Drop. A kid in King Arthur's War. I mean, a kid in King Arthur's Court. I was actually rewatching. How many times am I gonna mention this guy? In my videos, even though I really don't watch his videos that often anymore. But I do recall in A Kid in King Arthur's Court. I only know about that again because I didn't even know it was a Disney movie. It came from, I remember hearing about this from the Nostalgia Critic, and he hated it so much, you might remember in his review, that literally from the first frame, he's bashing his head to try to forget about it, and he's getting the, title wrong, saying, A Kid in King Arthur's Court. And, and, of course, he reviews it, and yeah, saw the review, didn't think it was too interesting, so, yeah, you can make of that what you will. Anyway, moving on. Kings, Timon and Pumbaa. Frank and Ollie, which I didn't even know they made a documentary about Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. I have to check that one out. Toy Story, which thankfully I saw Toy Story as a kid, although I think I saw Toy Story 2 first, and then I saw the original Toy Story. So, yeah, what more can I say? Pixar's first feature film. And yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. And as I'm looking at it right now, I just keep getting flashbacks of when Woody and Buzz are having that fight at that gas station where Buzz thinks he's a toy, and Woody like just snaps and goes, "You are a toy." So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. But I will say Sid's toys in that movie, Sid, he plays that, that mean kid who likes to blow up his toys. I will say I did think, his toys were kind of creepy as a kid. I remember one of them was like a toy head on top of like a metallic spider body. I think a lot of it came from how, he has a habit of breaking his toys, and that was why a lot of them came like, dismembered and things like that. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun watching. I mean, I know that one kind of creepy scene was at some point a certain character turns his head and says, "So play nice." And I'll leave it at that for people who don't want to get spoiled. So yeah. Gabby says, "Heck yeah, Timon and Pumbaa." Did you see that show as a kid, Gabby? Moving on. And once again, feel free, people watching, to leave your thoughts down below. Tom and Huck, Muppet Treasure Island. Ooh, oh wow, two, really memorable, Disney movies from 1996. James and the Giant Peach. I know, it's kind of a plot holy movie, but it's honestly one of the few movies I can think of. Maybe it's nostalgia, I don't know, where even though, yeah, it's a flawed movie, the creativity of it, honestly, and even like the Randy Newman songs, I just think are like so, charming and fun. It's just like, it's kind of hard to like hate on this one. And I do remember seeing James and John Peach and thinking, it was a fun movie. I will say some of the designs in James and John Peach didn't make sense to me as a kid. Like, I didn't know why the rhino was just basically a giant creature running around in the clouds, and that the sharks was like this metallic thing in the ocean that like shoots like, evil baby sharks. It was just like, why don't you just stick to the like a regular shark or regular or a regular rhino like there was in the original James and the Giant Peach book. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I think the reason Henry Selick went with it was because, oh, he wants to make the movie more creative, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not one of those people that's like, you must follow every word in the book. Like I get that, but it's just like, it's just kind of creative changes that didn't really click with me. But I still think, overall is a really fun movie to watch. And of course, Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, it's just really an epic movie. It easily has some of my favorite Disney songs in it. I mean, I think it's just a case of what happens. Like Hunchback to me is like what Mother and Earthbound is for Nintendo, where it's technically where they went, really ballsy and into some really dark territory, especially for when they come from, like in Hunchback of Notre Dame, they deal with things like, lust, and they talk about, parts of religion, even using words like damnation and things like that. I know one of the most memorable scenes from Hunchback was, the Hellfire song. I know a lot of people make fun of that song and say things like, oh my, like Frollo is singing a song about getting a boner, but it's just like, but putting that aside, it's a really freaky song. This idea where like Frollo is like conflicted and is lusting for Esmeralda. I mean, it's not funny at all, but it's just like, dang, Disney just went super out there. So yeah, so definitely a really epic movie. I mean, it's got its issues, yes, but it's really hard to ignore. Just the amount of effort. And I've said this many, many times before, but a lot of people, talk about these days, bringing back 2D animation. Some of my favorite scenes in Hunchback were when they mix, the 2D style with like CG techniques, like especially the camera movements. Like, oh my god! I mean, the scene that really takes my breath away is when Quasimodo rescues Esmeralda. I'm getting feels thinking about it. They do this really epic like camera swoop as he's swinging that, and then he climbs on the cathedral next to the rose window and says sanctuary, and that camera is just like, oh my god, that is so like I'm getting chills in my spine even just thinking of Quasimodo saying sanctuary. So yeah, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I think Hunchbacks, it's one of those movies where I think as a kid, I didn't really like. I could get through it okay as a kid, except I didn't like watching the scene where Phoebus got shot with the arrow. But it really took me growing up to really understand like the symbolism and just how crazy it is. I mean, to just sum up how dark Hunchback gets, somebody in the comments, in the YouTube comments, for somebody uploaded the Bells of Notre Dame scene, which really great song. And somebody was like, my favorite Disney scene is when the bad guy cracks open the skull of a character's head. And they're referring to the scene where... This one I don't really consider a spoiler because it happens early on in the movie. When Frollo kills Quasimodo's mother by like kicking her head. I mean, it doesn't like crack open like on screen, but it's just like, damn. And yeah, and speaking of that song, and it's funny, as a kid, the part of Bells of Notre Dame where the Archdeacon tells Frollo, you can't run from the eyes of Notre Dame, basically saying God saw that you killed, an innocent woman on the steps of Notre Dame. Like, that kind of symbolism, like, went through my head as a kid, but it's like now as a kid, you really get the significance of that. So, yeah, I mean, I can't praise Hunchback enough. It's such a really amazing movie. Kazam. Jack. I might see Jack out of curiosity. Maybe. Aladdin, King of Thieves. And I know Gabby's saying Hellfire is heckin' deep. It is deep. So yeah. But yeah, everybody else that's watching, feel free to leave me your thoughts. I'm kind of like what Gabby's doing, even if it's like a movie or show that I'm not overly familiar with. Let me know your thoughts. We just passed through the First Kid, Quack Pack. Mighty Ducks, The Incredible Hulk. Um, oh boy, the Glenn Close 101 Dalmatians, which was was along with Patch's London Adventure. This and 102 Dalmatians were the only 101 Dalmatians movies I saw as a kid, which is really kind of weird. You know, it's funny how like I watched it as a kid. Okay, I mean, I thought like the climax, like as a kid, I was like, oh, I like it okay, but I thought that the pacing was a little slow and that the ending got a little violent for my taste as a kid. I know there's a lot of people out there that look back on these movies and think they're really funny, but I'm kind of surprised I wasn't creeped out by Cruella as a kid. I mean, I know that there's people out there to this day that will say that, yeah, as a kid, Cruella kind of scared me. Like, I remember specifically the scene where she's trying to buy the 15 puppies. She holds up the check, and Roger and Anita are just like blank face, and Cruella out of nowhere says, "Take that!" I'm kind of surprised because like I never like getting startled, so I'm just like I'm surprised that didn't scare me as a kid. But we'll get to the cringy stuff, or will we get to the cringy stuff? We'll have to wait and see. See that darn cat. Jungle to Jungle. I kind of want to see that movie just to see if it's as bad as people say it is. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. Because I do recall seeing that movie because I remember the scene where the parents are like shrunken down and they fall in like nacho dip, but I don't remember seeing. I think I got to the ending, but I didn't see the beginning of that film. Smart Guy. Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue. Kind of surprised did we see Brave Little Toaster earlier on this list? I don't remember. Hercules, I remember seeing that when I was kind of an older kid. Like I think I was around like 9 or 10 when I finally saw Hercules. Again, like what I was saying with Oliver and Company, I watched Hercules and Hunchback because I read the books that Disney made for them. And I will tell you one interesting thing about Hercules: the scene where he has to fight the Hydra. That honestly kind of really creeped me out as a kid because I was so scared that they were gonna like show blood and guts. I mean, I didn't have like the knowledge to think back then. It's a Disney movie; they're not gonna do something overly gruesome. And I remember hiding in like my home's bathroom when that scene was playing, and my sister had to like knock on the door and tell me it's just like green slime, you don't have to worry. But I didn't trust her because I thought it was going to be a thing where it's like there's still a little bit. So yeah. Yeah. Gabby said that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was her childhood movie. She also points out, along with Honey, I Shrunk the Audience in the Disney park. I actually heard that Honey, I Shrunk the Audience is kind of a scary ride. Did you think it was scary, Gabby? Because I think I could get the idea because it's supposed to simulate, like, make it look like the audience is, like, super shrunken down, right? So, at least that's what I've heard. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, Hercules, I think it's a better movie than some people may give it credit for. I do definitely remember a lot of these songs. Well, I'll admit that the songs, they're not, like, my favorite of the Disney movies. I will say they definitely are, you know, really catchy tunes, like, or at least some of them, like Zero to Hero. What's the song that fills scenes? One Last Hope. And I know that some people may not like Michael Bolton's take on Go the Distance, but I actually really like listening to that cover of Go the Distance. So yeah, I mean I don't think it's like technically super well sung, but I do like listening to it. So yeah. Moving on. It's getting close to 10:30, so I might have to start speeding up a little bit. Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin. I think I read it was adapted into like part of a set of stories because like I used to, as a kid, I used to have like big books full of like mini stories from the Disney films, and I think Pooh's Grand Adventure was one of them, but I don't remember too well. Recess. I know Gabby. She told me she's a big fan of Recess. Let me know yourself if you're a really big fan of Recess. Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas, which I honestly don't think it's as bad as some people may say. I mean, it's simplistic, but I thought, for a especially Disney sequel, I thought was for what it is, I thought it was okay. Flubber, I might see again out of curiosity. Belle's Magical World, which I don't think it's as bad as some people would tell you. Colin just mentioned one movie named Mr. Boogedy, which did we already pass that? If Colin wants to join the chat, let him. I want him to, join the chat, get as many people in as well. So, yeah, but if he's into that movie, that's really great to hear. Meet the Deedles. I saw a trailer for Mr. Deedles. Meet the Deedle. What the hell is Mr. Deedles? Meet the Deedles. And I was just like, what is this? A Disney version of Biodome? Which I don't know for sure. That was just my impression from the trailer. Let me know in the chat if what it is. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't know about that one. Miracle at Midnight. Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. What a title. Mulan. Abby said, "Oh, he's at work. Oh man, it's okay. Shout out to Colin, and he just had his birthday, right? So yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out there. Mulan. What can I say? We used to watch that movie a lot as kids. I kind of have a similar issue with Mulan as in Pocahontas, where I kind of wish they made the lead character more interesting than just making her like a do-good, or like let her have fun. I mean, to Mulan's credit, they do have a little more fun with her character, like the scene in the camps where she puts on that kind of funny gruff voice. And I remember a scene that kind of grossed me as a kid was when she like spat, like just like when like I remember when she gives Shang and Chifu the scroll and was like, you're Fazu's son? And Mulan is like, doesn't talk about me too much, and just starts spitting. And I just thought that was kind of gross. But yeah, I do remember definitely having fun with Mulan as a kid. Had some really great action sequences in the course. Really funny movie, especially coming from the Gang of Three. The characters, if I'm remembering them correctly, Yao, Ling, and Jianpo. I thought they were really funny dudes. So yeah, You Lucky Dog, Parent Trap remake, Pocahontas 2. I saw in passing. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought the tone in Pocahontas 2 was kind of a little needlessly dark and intense. When I remember seeing that, but it's on my honest take on Pocahontas 2. Let's see, Brink. Hercules, the animated series. I'm sure it's going to be to delight of some to my viewers. Jungle Book Mowgli. So I remember this movie was advertised on one of the Disney videotapes I had. Out of the box, Halloween Town. It'll be here kind of late for Halloween, but there you go. Lion King 2 Simba's Pride. Another one of the Disney sequels I actually kind of like. Just as far as again, Disney sequel that is kind of like a take on Romeo and Juliet, I thought was okay. I do remember the characters, Kiara and Kovu, and also the songs were maybe, I don't know if I'd say they're as good as the ones in the first Lion King, but I do remember, especially the one I really like is He Lives in You. I thought that was a really terrific song. So yeah, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish. Is it me, or is Disney putting up some sequels before they put up the main movies? Because I know, I don't know. Is it though? Because let me actually double check that one. Because I thought the Richie Rich live action movie was from Warner. So Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird to see. I'll Be Home for Christmas. I don't know about that one. I remember it was playing on ABC once, but I didn't see it because it didn't pique my interest. If it is, let me know. A Bug's Life. I'm kind of surprised A Bug's Life kind of it sort of gets the shaft as far as Pixar movies go, at least as far as the ones that everybody brings up. You know, everybody when I think about Pixar, I know a lot of people bring up movies like, Toy Story, The Incredibles, Wall-E, Up, I know is a really feelsy one, and even Cars, but I don't know what it is. I don't hear too many people talk about A Bug's Life. I mean, it's not like a super like unknown movie. I mean, even Disney's California Adventure used to have a land that was based on A Bug's Life. I don't know if they have it to this day, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised because I thought that was an enjoyable movie. It's like I know it's kind of predictable, but I kind of felt like since it was the first time I was seeing, like a lie revealed kind of story, and especially with like characters that were, pretty entertaining. I thought that A Bug's Life was pretty nice. Pretty nice. The ending was kind of brutal. Mighty Joe Young, I think I remember seeing as a kid on TV. So weird. You're gonna see Xenon on this list. I think I'm pronouncing that out. My Favorite Martian. Doug's first movie. I'm kind of curious to see. Here's a really tricky question for you. Who's your favorite between these two Disney couples? Who's your favorite? Doug and Patty or Star and Marco? So yeah. Just wanted to point out who these. I remember getting these Star plushies from Long Beach Comic Con, I believe, and it was from a group called Wee Bit Geek and Freak. Really great to have. Let's see, 10 Things I Hate About You, Don't Have Too Much to Say, Can of Worms. I'm going to start speeding through 13th year. Star Wars prequels coming up. Like I said, I do want to see the prequels, like just to get more feel of the Star Wars universe. I know that, I know, like, yeah, the prequels are infamous, but I still want to, like, get my own opinion about them. Rather than just straight up bashing them. See, Smart House, Spectre Gadget, Johnny Tsunami, Genius, Spider-Man Unlimited, Don't Look Under the Bed. Again, let me know if you see something that you really like or are excited to see. Avengers United They Stand, Annie, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. I might have seen that as a kid. Horse Sense, Toy Story 2. Definitely recommend that one. I still believe it was the first Toy Story film that I've seen. I saw it even before the original one. Fantasia 2000. It's funny, I've never seen the original Fantasia, but I do remember seeing Fantasia 2000 a couple times and definitely had some, really great moments in that. Like, Donald Duck and Noah's Ark, the scene with the whales. I think it was the first time I got to see Sorcerer's Apprentice. Rhapsody in Blue was also really nice. So yeah, really visually good stuff. I still think that it had some really good genes. Up and Away, The Color of Friendship. Ooh, the Tigger movie. I definitely remember seeing the Tigger movie as a kid. It actually got quite dramatic as far as I remember it with the ending scene. I won't spoil it here, but just yeah, I mean just know that the premise of this movie is that Tigger wants to, find his family in that one, and I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, of course, the Winnie the Pooh characters, they do engage in their usual antics, but the climax especially gets really dramatic. So, yeah, just take my word for it. But see the movie, of course. Extremely goofy movie. Whispers in Elephant's Tail. Hellcat Strike. Rip Girls, Miracle in Lane 2. Dinosaur, I remember seeing as a kid. I think even today, if I saw it, I think I would, like it. Okay. I remember watching it on ABC and just how photorealistic the dinosaurs were. So yeah, let's see. Kid, I think I kind of saw was when I was channel surfing. I may have passed through it. Even Stevens, stepsister from Planet Weird, Ready to Run, Quince, The Other Me, Little Mermaid 2. I might see out of curiosity. Think I saw Remember the Titans. Was it that one in particular? When I was in high school. Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, X-Men Evolution. It's in the Megaplex. Ooh, 102 Dalmatians. Yeah, knew that it was gonna be on the list. So yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid. I definitely remember the climax. Or I'll just spoil it here because it's kind of funny. Cruella gets basically turned into a cake. I think I remember thinking the ending message was maybe a little on the pessimistic side, but it definitely had its share of entertaining moments. Like I remember the scene. There's a scene where like Cruella, when um snaps out of something. I don't want to spoil this one in particular. And she goes out on the street, and everything she sees is covered in like white with black dots. Like everything is like a colored like a Dalmatian, and like her hair gets really crazy, and she's like Cruella's back, and she's like cackling. I remember that scene kind of made me cringe as a kid, not because of Cruella's scream, only because like she's literally seeing, she's like seeing, Dalmatian spots everywhere. It's just like, oh my god, she's off her rocker, isn't she? So yeah, fun times. The ultimate Christmas present. Emperor's New Groove. I definitely remember, is a really funny movie to watch. Easy on sequel. Lizzie McGuire, the original series. Recess School's out. I'd be very curious to see what Gabby has to say. The Book of Pooh. Motocross. Lady and the Tramp 2. I'm not really sure about that. Look at the Irish. Hounded. Atlantis. I know that my friend Steven really likes Atlantis. I remember watching it on ABC, and it didn't really leave that big of an impact on me. Like, don't remember what I saw too well, aside from the scene where Kita goes up into the crystal, and I sort of remembered the climax, but not too well. So yeah, I think part of it was because at the time I wasn't really into like action movies, so maybe that's why Atlantis didn't really keep my interest. But I know it has like a cult following nowadays because people really like the style of the movie. Is it the Jenny Project? Never heard of that one. Princess Diaries. I know that movie and its sequel turned up on ABC quite a few times. I'm kind of surprised we used to watch that as a family. It seems like a movie that like my dad wouldn't want any business watching. But I remember we used to watch that at quite a few times. Jumping Ship, The Poof Point, Halloween 2, Monsters Inc. Definitely a really entertaining movie. Seen it on TV a couple times. Even saw it, interestingly enough, in my civics economics class back in high school. Once again, leave me your thoughts down below. I have to start basically speeding through some of these because I have to get to bed soon because I've got work tomorrow. Alright, so it was the night. 3 days, no dogs. Double teamed. Peter Pan Returned to Neverland. I thought was okay as a kid. Cinderella 2 Dreams Come True. Cadet Kelly. Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. The less said about that movie, the better. Just know, at least to me, it was quite a big step back from the tone of the first movie. Confessions. Rookie, I've heard about in passing. Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. Kim Possible. I've actually watched a few Kim Possible episodes lately because I still want to review that the new movie they came out with. Lilo and Stitch. Saw that one quite a few times as a kid. See a clue. Tarzan and Jane. Country Bears. Gotta Kick It Up. Ring of Endless Light. Scream Team. Tuck Everlasting. Santa Claus 2, I remember liking okay. Again, it's the only Santa Claus movie that I've seen in full. Winnie the Pooh, Very Merry Pooh Year. Treasure Planet, I'm kind of curious. I'm curious to know how a lot of people feel about that movie nowadays. I think Steven told me he likes it. I'd like to know if it has, more of a cult following, especially compared to when it first came out. The funny thing about Treasure Planet is I remember my cousin, I think, saw the movie before me, and she was like, oh, the main character, or he gets arrested. Which, yeah, I know that's what happens to Jim Hawkins, but I remember as a kid, that kind of left a bad impression on me. But it's just, I don't know. But again, that was me being a paranoid little kid. You Wish, That's So Raven. Oh, hey, 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure, filled with some really funny scenes. Jungle Book 2 is a meh. I remember I thought as a kid it was okay, but I'd be very curious to know what happened if I watched it today. Spectre Gadget 2. Piglet's Big Movie, I think I remember liking okay. I remember the ending was a little on the emotional side. Curious to know what I would think nowadays. Right on Track, Lizzie McGuire movie. Atlantis, Milo's Return, Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is here. If you're a Nemo fan, I remember as a kid, I was so into the movie that every time, if I would go to an aquarium or somewhere and I would see a clownfish, I would be like, "Oh, Nemo is there!" And I think my parents would also play along with that. So that was definitely a lot of fun. Even Stevens movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse the Black Pearl. Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, Freaky Friday. This one here, the one with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, I remember seeing as a kid. I think I liked it okay. Cheetah Girls, Stitch the movie, which I saw quite a few times as a kid. Never, I really do want to check out the TV series that spawned from Stitch the movie, though, because I remember I really wanted to see the Lilo and Stitch TV series as a kid, but because, at least in my area, it aired super, super early on ABC Kids. You had to be up at 7 or 7:30 in the morning. I didn't get to catch that. Deep Blue. Oh, hey, speaking of which, Lilo and Stitch the series, so yay. Brother Bear, didn't, I don't think I remember liking it too much as a kid. Full Court Miracle, Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion, Recess, All Grow Down, in Recess taking the 5th grade, Young Black Stallion, Pixel Perfect, Teacher's Pet. I remember that movie was well advertised, but I don't remember, but I haven't seen the film. Miracle, Lion King 1.5. Looking back, I think was kind of a goofy movie. I think some people might get into the humor. I personally don't. It's basically, if you've never seen Lion King 1.5, it's the Lion King from Timon and Pumbaa's perspective. They spend a lot of time, with Timon's family, and it's kind of told in this sort of mystery science theater style where it's narrated by Timon and Pumbaa in this movie theater, you see their silhouettes. There's this really kind of cringy moment toward the end that I don't want to spoil, but yeah. Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Winnie the Pooh, Springtime with Roo, Going to the Mat. Home on the Range. I watched it once. Don't remember that one too well. Sacred Planet. on Z3, Phil the Future. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people from my generation that are going to be happy to hear Phil the Future is on this list. America's Heart and Soul, Stuck in the Suburbs, Tiger Cruise, Princess Diaries 2. Again, I think I remember seeing that on ABC a while back. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, the Three Musketeers. Try saying that 5 times fast. Empire of Dreams. I've actually seen that documentary before. That it's actually quite a fascinating one. It focuses quite a bit on the original Star Wars trilogy. It talks quite a bit about the struggles George Lucas had, trying to get the original Star Wars funded and made. It's actually really fascinating stuff. If you're really into, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, if you're even if you're like really into filmmaking, I think you'll get a lot out of Empire of Dreams. It's really fascinating stuff. Halloween Town High, Incredibles. I kind of will say it's kind of interesting how I had a lot of classmates that really liked Incredibles, but I remember as a kid The Incredibles was the first time like I saw a movie where I felt like I watched like a grown-up movie in terms of like the pacing was a bit slower. It wasn't, I mean, yes, there's fighting and bad guys, but a lot of it is like a lot of time is spent with Mr. Incredible, Bob Parr's Midlife Crisis. And I remember, thinking, wow, this movie was slower paced than I had imagined. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting stuff. I still like The Incredibles. I still thought, it was a really fun movie to watch. But, yeah, I'm kind of wondering how many people went into The Incredibles thinking, oh, superheroes. And then they watch it, and it's kind of more slower paced than one would think. So, that's just my take on it. I still really like the movie. Its sequel is pretty good, too. Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. You see it. Aliens of the Deep. Mulan 2. I feel like if I rewatch that one, it might be a guilty pleasure. Or I do remember a couple of songs like Lesson Number 1. There's a song where the 3 princesses, because in this movie, Mulan and Shang have to escort the princesses to a kingdom called Kigon, and they sing a song called, I think it's called, like, I Want to Be Like Other Girls. I thought that was actually kind of catchy. Pooh's Heffalump movie, I remember that was advertised quite a bit. Vin Diesel and the Pacifier, I don't know about that one. I was actually kind of surprised to see Millions on the list. This is Danny Boyle's movie, at least from the trailer. It's about a movie about these 2 boys that come across a ton of money, and one of the boys, at least from the trailer, is interested in just spending the money for himself, but one wants to use it for more charitable reasons. So I'm kind of curious to see it. I like a lot of Danny Boyle's work, like Slumdog Millionaire and the Steve Jobs movie. So yeah, kind of curious to see how it goes. Buffalo Dreams, Ice Princess, never seen that one. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I remember, I haven't seen too many episodes of Sweet Life as a kid, but I do remember it was quite a funny one. The one I remember seeing as a kid was when Zack and Cody, they turned themselves into superheroes after wishing on a shooting star. And some of the like more memorable scenes I remember coming across recently was, I think somebody posted the scene where Mr. Mosby does that really funny dance, and it's just kind of, I know, funny seeing him do that. And Brenda Song's character London tries to join in, and the timing on her was so great. Like, she was like, shimmy shimmy, and she kicks I think her shoe, and I thought the timing on that was really great. Really entertaining show. Impossible movie soda drama. I only saw the beginning of that. How Dogs Got Their Shapes, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I already know how that one ends. Figure Herbie Fully Loaded, which was, I think for a lot of people, was what introduced Herbie to like the, I would say, my generation of Disney fans. I didn't even know it was, I kind of had a sense of, is Herbie from the past? But I didn't know just how extensive a past Herbie has had. Let's see, More Life is Rough. Valiant, not sure about that one. I remember hearing about it as a kid, but it didn't really pique my interest. Proud Family movie, which, since we didn't come across Proud Family here, I know a while back, I believe the actor for Penny's dad in that movie, not my sister Penny, the character, said that Disney's doing a. Let me actually double check. I think it's a reboot, but let me take a look at my notes from one of my last Disney Plus videos. Which, speaking of Disney Plus videos, I will be doing a video basically going through the interface of Disney Plus when that launches. The actor said that, that Disney working on it for one of Disney's streaming services, but and it's not that just because we haven't come across it on this list, it doesn't necessarily mean it's never going to happen, but I still want to wait for confirmation from Disney. So, yeah, just key lesson in, well, really any news is that, Javi says no Muppets. There are Muppets, Javi. Like, go look on the list. They have, like, I saw, a couple Muppet movies, like the original Muppet movie, and, I think I saw Great Muppet Caper, You go check it out for yourself, Javi. They do have some Muppets here. Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch I might check out. I kind of know the ending of greatest game you ever played. By the way, Javi, what do you think of the list so far? Are you interested in it? See, but yeah, Javi, they're like, what do you mean by Muppets? Like, I did see like the Muppet movie, and I think I saw a couple other ones on that list. Yeah, I didn't see Ice Age, too much of Ice Age either. I only saw scratch shorts as well. But yeah, go on the list. They do have the original Muppet movie on here. I think they also had Great Muppet Caper, I believe. But yeah, Little Einsteins, Twitches. I might see Chicken Little. Again, it's kind of one of those movies I want to see if it's just as bad as a lot of people say it is. Not because I don't trust, reviewers. It's more out of I want to just form my own opinion. Let's see, Chronicles of Narnia. Definitely saw that as a kid. Once Upon a Mattress. Javi says he's not into the streaming service by Disney or anything. Well, that's cool. But, yeah. So, Kronk's New Groove. I have actually seen, as you're about to see, I've seen both High School Musical and High School Musical 2. Even as a kid, it kind of made me cringe. Let's just put it at that. Roving Mars. Emperor's New Groove, Bambi 2, 8 Below, the Shaggy Dog remake with Tim Allen, Cowbells, Hannah Montana, which my sis was actually into Hannah Montana as a kid. Obviously, says, you remember those Narnia sneak peeks in the Disney's park. What sneak peeks, Javi, can you explain more? The Wild? Let's see. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Cars. I've seen the first Cars movie back when it was in theaters. I remember liking it okay, although I remember my mom was like, it's too simple. And looking back, yeah, it's kind of on the simplistic side. When You Woo Homecoming Warrior. Garfield, The Tale of Two Kitties. It's kind of interesting because I didn't see Garfield. Leroy and Stitch. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Hey, they're putting more of the pirate movies here. And get rid of this window. Trailers of the movie Waste of Space. Yeah, but as for the movies themselves, I remember I've only seen Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian. I thought those were pretty good too. I know some people don't like Prince Caspian, but as a movie, I thought it's pretty enjoyable. Just read it and weep. The Replacements. I'm honestly thinking of watching The Replacements again because I remember Replacements was one of those shows I saw on Saturdays, and obviously Garfield movies are made by Fox. A hobby that's because now that Disney has a hold of 20th Century Fox, they can put some of Fox's family-friendly movies on this list. So that's why you're going to be seeing like Diary of a Wimpy Kid here. Invincible, Cheetah Girls 2, Brother Bear 2, is this Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes. But yeah, feel free to chime in. Like, even if it's like movies you remember seeing, Hobby, let me know your thoughts on them. Handy Manny, Return to Halloween Town, Flicka, which is another one of Fox's family-friendly movies. Santa Claus 3, Fox and the Hound 2, Jump In, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. Meet the Robinsons, which actually, it's funny. I think it's like some people may get turned off by Meet the Robinsons because there's a lot of comedic styles in that movie and it's not super consistent. But I honestly thought it was a really fun movie with an inspiring message. And oh my god, that song, oh my god, I think it's called Little Wonders. That song, it's a really wonderful song. I was honestly so moved by that song that when Steve Jobs passed away, I actually played that song, just in memory of him. But yeah, but of course, Meet the Robinsons, inspiration-wise, is mostly well known for the saying, keep moving forward, which I'm not gonna say who they're quoting, but I will say I was genuinely surprised to hear who said that, but I still thought it was a really nice nod to a certain someone. So yeah, Hobby says, I know, by the way, The Replacements is pretty much forgotten Disney show nobody talks about. Kind of surprised, because I remember Replacements aired quite a bit on ABC Kids, so I'm just like, it's forgotten? Really? Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, My Friends Tigger and Pooh. Oh boy, how do I pronounce this? Johnny Capahala back on board. I think I remember hearing about it as a kid. The Secret of the Magic Gourd. Might see out of curiosity. Ratatouille. I honestly think some people bring up that like the best thing about Ratatouille is its atmosphere, but there's actually, I honestly think there's a lot more to it comedically, and that was kind of the thing that I was looking for compared to The Incredibles. Like, I just thought that Ratatouille had, a lot more energy to it. Like, yeah, it still kind of has that kind of wallowing pace, but I felt that, it just, there was a lot more energy thrown in it, and I personally had more fun in it. I mean, again, this is before I started getting, like, super critical with movies and such, but I do remember liking Ratatouille quite a bit as a kid. There were some really funny scenes, too. Like, I think of the scene, for example, where Remy's trying to figure out how to control Linguini and, like, starts biting him all over, and of course, Linguini finds out and starts screaming. I thought that was pretty funny. High School Musical 2, I saw as a kid. I'll just leave it at that. Phineas and Ferb. Again, I am watching several episodes of Phineas and Ferb in preparation because I do want to review the Phineas and Ferb effect, the crossover they're doing with Milo Murphy's Law. Let's see, Dog Whisperer. Game Plan, which by the end, I think gets a little on the plot holy side, but I think I like the movie more for its intent rather than as a movie itself. But I do remember seeing as a kid. I remember like my sis wanted to get the DVD of it because she saw the movie in theaters with some friends. So, I mean, it's a nice watch, although it is a bit on the spotty side. But it does have some really comedic scenes, like when remember, the daughter in the Game Plan makes cookies for the main character played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and she doesn't know he has peanut allergies, though he ends up talking like this. There's actually a really funny scene where, like, he's trying to, like, sort of coach his team, but at the same time babysit his daughter. And there's a scene where he kind of, in the deleted scene where he kind of snaps, and he's like, I said sit down! And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Switches to Wizards of Waverly Place, Dan in Real Life, Snow Globe, National Treasure 2, Minutemen, Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, Best of Both Worlds concert. That I'll admit, I've actually seen as a kid. Again, this was back from when my sis was into Hannah Montana. College Road Trip, what a hobby say. Phineas and Ferb is the only 2000s Disney show is still getting love in every media, like parks, movies, reruns, fan base, clothes, etc. I think part of it is because, as far as like the 2000s Disney shows go, it's one of the more recent ones to have ended per se, and I think that's why. That and also Phineas and Ferb has like a really giant fan base. I mean, for crying out loud, they literally made a Tsum Tsum of Perry the Platypus. So I think that's why. It's not a knock at Phineas and Ferb. I'm just, trying to state the measure of just how popular a show it is. So yeah. I guess the closest to it would be something like Kim Possible, although I don't think Disney does reruns of Kim Possible, but they say they are going to put Kim Possible on the service. Iron Man, getting into Marvel Cinematic Universe territory. Narnia Prince Caspian, I do remember liking that movie for what it is. Stonehenge Decoded, Camp Rock. WALL-E is kind of an interesting movie to me because I think it's like one of the first times where I realized that, hey, slower pacing and lack of dialogue can actually work in a movie, because throughout the first act of WALL-E, they're basically spending all this time on Earth. We see that, WALL-E is a really, lonely character. He meets Eve, and when Eve discovers and shows her around, when Eve discovers the plant that WALL-E has, she kind of goes into this like standby mode and can't move and talk, and just kind of moves her around and hangs out with her. And I kind of realized, because I remember seeing that with my dad, and he was like, this is so boring, and he still despises WALL-E to this day. But I actually do remember realizing, wow, I didn't even notice that was actually kind of neat. So yeah, so for me, it was kind of a turning point movie in the sense that, hey, I could actually sit through, scenes that don't have too much dialogue and slower pacing, as long as, it keeps my interest, obviously. Star Wars The Clone Wars, The Cheetah Girls One World, Little Mermaid Ariel's Beginning, Sweet Life on Deck, I think I've seen a couple episodes of. Star Wars The Clone Wars, the series. High School Musical 3 Senior Year, the only High School Musical movie to have ever come to theaters. Tinkerbell, I only saw the beginning of. Strange, I don't know what it is. I think the weird thing about Tinkerbell is I remember there was one time in middle school, I won a prize to go on a trip to Hollywood with some of my classmates, and we had a choice of, I think it was either Kung Fu Panda or Tinkerbell. And I don't know why everybody wanted to pick Tinkerbell. I'm not saying that Tinkerbell's a bad movie, but I would have thought that everybody wanted to pick Kung Fu Panda. I mean, keep in mind, this is back when, if you got to keep in mind with my middle school, if you had a system that looked like this, something like a Nintendo DS, I mean, the 3DS wasn't out at the time, but this was back when if you had like a Nintendo system, you were basically considered, really kiddie. So, I don't know. Bolt, definitely remember a fun movie. Seeing that in theaters was actually, for me, the first movie I got to see in digital 3D. Iron Man, Armored Adventures. Starting to see some Disney nature movies like The Crimson Wing, Mystery of the Flamingos, Wolverine and the X-Men, Dad Napped, Jonas Brothers The Concert Experience, because hey, if Miley Cyrus got one, why not the Jonas Brothers? Kingdom of the Blue Whale, Hannah Montana the movie, Hatching Pete, I think I remember hearing about Jonas, Trail of the Panda, Easter Island Discovered, Princess Protection Program, Wizards of Waverly Place the movie, Bizarre Dinosaurs, Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure, Princess and the Frog. Heard some great things about Princess and the Frog, needless to say. Skyrunners, Starstruck, Ooh, Alice in Wonderland. Oh boy. Basically the beginning of the modern era of the Disney live action remakes. Makes how nice. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I remember hearing my sis didn't like the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That Iron Man show used to be on Nicktoons before Disney bought Marvel, says Hobby. So yeah, that's really interesting. But now that Disney has Marvel movies and even their TV shows, just like yep, it's coming to Disney Plus. So yeah, Waking Sleeping Beauty, I do want to see. It's a documentary basically about the Disney Renaissance and how Disney got out of that kind of dark period. Because basically, what happened with Disney is after Walt Disney himself died, the Disney Animation Studios for a while kind of went into this sort of dark age period, and this is why movies like especially Black Cauldron was kind of considered a low point of that time. And I know that the documentary it focuses a lot on like the movies that will bring Disney back through the Disney Renaissance. So I'm really curious to see Waking Sleeping Beauty. So, yeah. Good Luck Charlie. Toy Story 3. The ending of Toy Story 3 does still make me cry, especially as a person myself who had a lot of stuffed animals as a kid. And Toy Story 3, when did it come out? 2010. That was when I think I was like graduating middle school when Toy Story 3 came out. I think definitely that ending really hit me. It's really emotional stuff. Den Brother, Camp Rock 2, Tinkerbell, The Great Fairy Escape, Journey to Shark Eden, like Eden Shear. I'm just kidding. Secretariat, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Great Migration, Shake It Up, Avalon High, Tangled, which, if I'm being really, I like Tangled as a movie, but it's the kind of thing where like I like the beginning and the ending of Tangled a lot. The middle, I'm kind of on, if I'm being really honest. Like, I didn't really get into things like that. There was, like, I think it was, like, a pub full of, like, characters. I do remember the horse was a pretty, funny character. But beyond that, I didn't really get that much into it, if anything. And the songs, I didn't really get into the songs in Tangled all that much. I still think, technically speaking, it's a good movie because it has some really good ideas in it. And the ending, oh my, the ending, I literally felt like I was watching, like a Disney Renaissance movie. The ending where they have that battle with Mother Gothel and something really bad happens to Flynn Rider, which I won't say what happens for spoilers, but yeah. Tangled. Tron Legacy, again, I might see out of curiosity. I really like the tracks that Daft Punk did for Tron Legacy, like The Grid and Dresd. I thought those were really awesome. I still like to listen to them to this day, but since I've never seen the original Tron, I might get a chance with Disney Plus. That's why I haven't seen it yet. Okay, so a bit of an itchy nose tonight. Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Wings of Life, Sweet Life Movie, Lemonade Mouth, African Cats, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tide, Sharp A's Fabulous Adventure. Again, let me know your thoughts. If I went through something that I didn't have much to say, but it's something that you yourself remembered, let me know in the chat. Kicking it. Cars 2, again, I do want to see if it's just as bad as people say. The Winnie the Pooh 2011 movie, I do want to check that one out. It looks pretty good. Phineas and Ferb the movie, I remember that was actually kind of a big deal because they also aired, it was one of the few times where they aired a Disney Channel movie on ABC. So I remember that was really cool. Teen Spirit, Jessie, Rain Games, The Incredible Dr. Pole. Keep Charming. Oh, Hobby, are you seeing that? Look at that. The Muppets. The 2011 Muppets movie. It's right over here. Muppets has indeed made the list. Good Luck Charlie. 12 Dates of Christmas. Frenemies. Ultimate Spider-Man, Chimpanzee, Violetta, Tron Uprising. Might see that out of curiosity. Let's check. Ooh, gets good, gets good. Gravity Falls, look at that, Gravity Falls. Winnie the Pooh 2011 was the last 2D Disney movie ever made. Unfortunately, I would like to see, like I said in my previous video, I would like to see Disney do a thing where they make some of their movies 2D and some CG, but it really remains to be seen. I am looking forward to Disney's upcoming movies like Frozen 2 and Raya and The Last Dragon, but it would be really nice to see their 2D films because I do remember having some really good times with them. Brave, the weird thing about Brave is I don't really like the first act. Like, the first act is like, whatever. But honestly, when they start getting into things like a certain character turns into a bear and even the outcome, it was honestly kind of moving to me. Like, the relationship between said person and the Princess Merida, I honestly thought was the heart of Brave. So, yeah. I don't know if I'd put it up there with, like, Pixar's absolute best movies. Like, I can't put it on, like, the same shelf as something like Up or Toy Story or even A Bug's Life. But it is, like, it definitely is a movie that is hard. I honestly don't think it's as bad as some people may say. Secrets of the King Cobra. Crash and... Is it Bernstein? Like, the journalist? Crow vs. Monster, Secret of the Wings, Wreck-It Ralph. I'll admit, I didn't really get into Wreck-It Ralph as much as a lot of people did, but I definitely do think it is a legitimately entertaining movie. The twist villain is really awesome, by the way. Santa Claus 2, Wing Seduction, The Mistletones, Wizard's Return, Alex vs. Alex, Iron Man 3. Yeah, you might have noticed that, like, not every, MCU movie made the list, but hopefully they will down the line. Life Below Zero, Marvel Avengers Assemble. Monsters U, I need to see that movie in whole. I've seen chunks of the movie. I remember my dad was watching Monsters U, and I asked him, what do you think so far? And the thing about him is that he's super critical. Like, he's one of those people where if he hates a movie straight up, he's gonna make sure that he decides. But Monsters U, he was like, it's kind of silly. Like, he didn't like hate it, but at the same time, so it does indicate to me that on some level I'll be okay with it, but I don't know. I know about the message of the movie, and I didn't think the message was, that interesting. But I would give that movie another chance. Teen Beach Movie, Hulk vs. Agents of Smash, Super Buddy, Sharks of Lost Island, Thor: The Dark World. Frozen, can't have the Disney streaming service without Frozen. Need I say more? I still think Frozen is a really good movie, by the way. Saving Mr. Banks. Yet another Disney movie I really need to see. Miracle, Landing on the Hudson, Cloud 9, Assembling a Universe. Muppets Most Wanted. Once again, Muppets. Hobby. By the way, Hobby, have you seen the recent Muppet movies like Muppets Most Wanted and the 2011 Muppets? Dr. Oakley, Yukon Bet, Disney Nature, Bears, Zapped, Girl Meets World. Guardians of the Galaxy it's actually one of the few MCU movies I did get around to see, and I'm trying to think. I remember Guardians of the Galaxy was definitely a fun movie, although I don't recall liking it quite as much as a lot of people do. But I still thought, hey, it was kind of cool. I think, I'm trying to think. I think the thing about Guardians was that it has a problem that a lot of people have with some of the MC movies where the villain wasn't very interesting. And I think that's what kind of killed it for me. But I do remember, it was quite an entertaining movie. I remember seeing Guardians of the Galaxy with my sis, who saw it before me and my dad, but the three of us went to see it and we liked it pretty well. Avi says, thanks to my little sister, I've been hearing Let It Go a lot, every day. Oh boy. How to Build a Better Boy. I should point out that Frozen is another movie that I remember my high school classmates really, really like. I remember, I think the year after I graduated, they did their next homecoming with, it was either that, no, or like they did a future homecoming with a Frozen theme. See Star Wars Rebels, Dr. K's Exotic Animal, ER, for more. Big Hero 6, I actually quite like. Obviously, I saw the first movie but never finished it because I was sick and I woke up for new episodes of Star during the early morning. First movie of what hobby? Let me know. Oh, the Muppets movie. Okay. So yeah, Bad Hair Day, Monkey Kingdom. Again, if there's anybody else that's watching, please feel free to tune in. We're getting close to the end, and getting close to the point where I'm gonna have to take off. Monkey Kingdom, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Inside Out. I remember liking Inside Out. Not quite as much as something like Up, but it was definitely really emotional movie. It had a really big heart. I won't say what happens toward the climax when a certain character goes leaves, but yeah. So really emotional stuff. But at the same time, I honestly wish they spent even more time exploring the world. And even though I like joy and sadness, and that's the thing, I really like how the lesson of this movie, but I wish we got to see more time maybe exploring even more of the worlds. And like, I know part of it is because Riley is feeling really cranky, and so some of these worlds are starting to leave, and that stuff. But it's just like, I could have used more of this world, and I could have even used more interaction with these characters. Like, they do cut back to the other characters. I think their names are Disgust, Anger, and Fear, like in Riley's control room, but I feel like you could have used even more of them. I mean, I never cried while I was watching Inside Out. I don't think I remember crying either, but I remember the ending was really emotional. Like, it definitely, got to me. Teen Beach 2, Best Friends Whenever, Star Wars Droid Tales, Ant-Man, Descendants. I know a certain somebody that watches my videos that is really big into Descendants. Guardians of the Galaxy the series, PJ Masks, the Muppets TV show. I might check out of curiosity. Invisible Sister, The Lion Guard, Good Dinosaur. Which I'll check out the Good Dinosaur. I know there was this one time in the video where I was like, I'm not too sure about Good Dinosaur because I hadn't heard good things about it. And then I get comments, not trolling ones, but people telling me, saying, it's a good movie, it's a good movie. So it's just like, okay, so it does seem to have promise. So once again, Wild, Yellowstone, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Seen that? That's pretty good. Finest Hours. Although, I did kind of wish The Force Awakens. From what I heard, a lot of people say Force Awakens, it's basically like a retelling of A New Hope. So I know they did that to like draw new viewers into Star Wars, but it was just like, I could have used something more. Lab Rats, Elite Force, Zootopia. Take a guess how I feel about Zootopia. Ice Age, The Great Escapade. I think this is what Javi was referring to earlier. World's Greatest Dogs, Adventures in Babysitting, Finding Dory, which I should also check out. Lego Star Wars, The Freemaker Adventures, Bizarre Steven Spielberg's The BFG. I might see that since I'm big into Steven Spielberg. And remember, I think I borrowed the BFG, the book, once when I was in elementary school because I was big into Roald Dahl. Like, I really liked reading stories like Danny, the Champion of the World, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but I didn't get to finish the BFG. So, very curious to see. Alana Babalor. I know a former high school classmate of mine really likes him, Alana Babalor. The Pete's Dragon remake, speaking of. Queen of Katwe, if I'm pronouncing right. Milo Murphy's Law, The Swap, Expedition Mars, Moana, which visually stunning movie. I think it could have used a sort of the more interesting plot and characters, but for what they were able to pull off, I thought was pretty nice. Rogue One, Star Wars story, For the Flood, Sea of Hope, Mickey Mouse Roadster Racers, Atlantis Rising. This I'm very curious to see. Newsies, the Broadway musical, because I know after Newsies became a cult classic, they made a Broadway show out of it. So I'm very curious to see. I've heard some of the tracks. I do really like what's the name of that one? Something to believe in. I thought was a really sweet song. Origins, The Journey of Mankind, Tangled Before Ever After, as well as Tangled the series. I believe Tangled the series is now called Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, which I heard goes into some really like epic crazy territory, kind of like another Disney show featuring a princess, a certain one. Okay, Andy Mack, Puppy Dog Pals. Oh yeah, speaking of which, we are crossing into 2017. We're in China. Yeah, I don't see Star vs. the Forces of Evil on this list, unfortunately. I know a while back there was like a source from a lesser known site that said that Star was coming, but I didn't talk about that because I wasn't really sure how credible it was. So I don't want to say that it'll never come to Disney Plus. I really hope it does. I think it would also be really nice if they did something like a Disney Plus like Star vs. the Forces of Evil sequel series. I think it would be really good, or a TV movie. But I do hope it comes to the service at some point. Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings, Cars 3, Earth Live, Kingdom of the Apes. I'm interested in seeing Cars 3 myself. Descendants 2, Raven's Home, Spider-Man the series, Diana in Her Own Words, Breaking 2, Inhumans, Vampirina, Jane, Big Hero 6 the series. I know a certain someone really wants me to watch Big Hero 6 the series. Titanic 20 years later, Secrets of Christ's Tomb, Man Among Cheetahs, Decorating Disney Holiday Magic, Planet of the Birds, Zombies, Giants of the Deep Blue, Rocky Mountain, Muppet Babies, Into the Okavango, if I'm saying that right, Drain the Oceans, Legend of the Three Caballeros. Again, let me know your thoughts on these titles. Big City Greens, I've seen a couple episodes of. It looks like a pretty fun show to watch. Bug Juice, My Adventures at Camp, another Freaky Friday remake, Science Fair, Free Solo, Under the Sea, Marvel Rising, Secret Warriors, Star Wars Resistance, Coop and Cammy, Ask the World, Lego Star Wars All-Stars, Mars Inside SpaceX, Mission to the Sun, The Flood, Life Size 2, Tree Climbing Lions, Paris to Pittsburgh, Sydney to the Max, the Kim Possible movie. I know there's some people out there who really hate the Kim Possible movie. I still want to check it out because I've done trailer reactions with Gabby. Very curious to see. Fast Lane, Into the Grand Canyon, Lost Treasures of the Maya, The Lost Tomb of Alexander the Great, Captain Marvel. Gabby's still here. Javi says Star vs. was Disney XD's most watched show, next to Gravity Falls. Not adding Star in Disney Plus or lack of reruns. Star vs. is disrespectful. Yeah, I mean, I really wish that Disney would have given more love to Star back when the show was out. And even now, it could use even more love. I would have liked to have seen, like, maybe Disney do a thing where they put the entire series on Disney Plus. I'm wondering if they're doing this because if they didn't, because they're like, oh well, if they want to watch it, just put on Hulu. But then again, Disney positioning Hulu to be like the place for their more adult-oriented content? So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that at some point Star will come. I hope it does, and maybe even hope that a Star sequel series or a movie will come. But it remains to be seen. I really hope they do add Star. Dumbo 2019. I know I should review that. Again, I've done trailer reactions. Hostile Planet. Vibia. Another show I should really see. Why is the Blood Moon there? Don't spoil. Well, I don't want to hear amphibious spoilers. I already know too much about how crazy that show gets. Apollo. Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. How much is he going to swear? Kingdom of the White Wolf. Marvel Hero Project. One Day at Disney. We're going to start seeing some of the original content. Encore. The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Noelle, I'm kind of thinking of doing a trailer reaction for Noelle. And obviously Wander Over Yonder didn't make it, or 7D, which, yeah, kind of disappoints me. I know that my sis really likes Wander Over Yonder. I don't hear too many people talk about the 7D. Is it a good show, Javi? What do you think? High School Musical, the series. Lady and the Tramp, maybe I'll do a trailer reaction. The Mandalorian, and yep, that's it for now. There's one last tweet. I don't know if I could really scroll down to it because I don't want to show more people's, where Disney says we did. Maybe, you know what I'll do? Because I don't want to scroll and then you start seeing tweets from outside Disney Plus. Bear with me. Yeah, you might be able to see it here where Disney says, as we did that. And the announcements aren't even over yet. Stay tuned for more soon. So I'm wondering, are they going to do another Twitter thread where they, show a lot of the stuff that's coming to Disney Plus on the first day? And I'm just maybe. I mean, I kind of wish they did a thing where they just had a list of the movies and shows and maybe put it on the Oh My Disney website, because I think doing it this way is kind of inconvenient. I know they want to show just how big of a list they have, and admittedly they do have. So yeah, I actually scroll down. I'm kind of nervous about putting video in here because I'm kind of concerned Disney may, try to take that as advantage to copyright claim. But yeah, Pen obviously says Pen Zero isn't on Disney Plus. I'm hoping they do add more Disney XD and Disney Channel shows, especially the animated ones. I'm glad Pickle and Peanut didn't make it. LOL. Ugh. I watched a couple episodes of Pickle and Peanut, and yeah, I mean, if you want to know more about Pickle and Peanut, go watch either Pie Guy Rules or Phantom Strider's take, because I basically agree with what they say. I will say one more thing about Pickle and Peanut. The intro card is scary AF. I won't specifically say. I mean, it's not an overly done thing. It's the Disney version of King Star King or something, being batshit insane like that. But it's just no. But anyway, so yeah, that's the list of what much is coming up. Oh my God, I'm saying so many tongue twisters of much of what is coming on November 12th. So. So I will say, yes, there's a pretty decent list as far as the amount of content, and even some that some of which I don't think too many people have heard of. If Javi, Gabby, or even anybody else watching, did you come across something that you've never heard before? So I will give Disney that yeah, there's a decent amount of content to watch, some of which I've never gotten to have seen before, and now I'm getting my chance. So there's definitely more than enough for a good start, and there's even some that we've never heard of before. So I'll give Disney that. Could they have added more? I kind of wish that they did. It did. I mean, yeah, it would have been really nice if they added Star and Wander Over Yonder to the list. I'm trying to think, did they? So yeah, I'm trying to think. Are there any more movies I felt that they could have added? Um, I don't know if it's me. I noticed that there's some movies on here where they they have like the sequel of, but they don't have the first film. Like I didn't see like the first Brave Little Toaster like or on the list. Let me actually see because I really don't want to show any like personal tweets, but I'll because I saw the sequels for Brave Little Toaster, but I don't recall seeing like the original movie itself. If I did miss it, you could let me know in the comments. But yeah, so and yeah, they could have had some more movies to start, but I will give Disney credit that they've got themselves a pretty decent list to begin with. So just to start, I mean, in their defense, I think the reason why they're holding back on some is because if they just dump everything, on the first day, then we're probably not going to see more new content for a long time. I think that's why. Although I would have liked to have seen, a couple more additions to the list. I mean, for me, from like the TV perspective, it would be really cool to like maybe finish up Wander Over Yonder. So yeah, and I know there's more coming, like some of which didn't make it on the list because they're coming, even more down the line or coming in 2020, and that sort of thing. So yeah, so this list is basically consisting of much of what we'll see on the first day, and Disney is hinting that there's even more to come, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they put on next. So yeah, so I'm gonna end the stream here. It's getting quite late. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Are you looking forward to Disney Plus? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you to everybody that has tuned in. Like I said, even if it's a movie that I glossed over or didn't have much to say, feel free to let me know if you're excited. So until next time, this has been Bloodman Bobby, and thank you all for watching. And I'll see you later, Javi and Gabby.